Hi again. My name is Rebel and I'm the Rebel Reseller. It feels like it's been a while since we've made a video. I don't think it's been that long.
A
week. Because we were way ahead because we thought we were going on a trip on Thursday, but car troubles.
This is July 6th.
Mm-hmm.
We had our transmission replaced through a warranty replacement. We had an extended warranty when we bought it, and we got on the interstate. We got about 45 minutes from home, something like that. Got on the interstate, driving 70, pulling our little trailer that was empty, and the truck started shifting weird, and then I noticed smoke. And so yeah, then I looked at the gauges, and the transmission temperature gauge was hot. Not in the danger zone, but much hotter than it normally runs. So
turned around,
came home,
went home. Gonna turn the truck back in tomorrow where we got the warranty work done. It's our normal mechanic, and hopefully, fingers crossed, it's nothing serious and we can be still back on the road this week. That's the hope anyway, because y'all, I finished all my bags. Other than things that I've already shown you guys that I had to wash and they're ready to go. I'm at the point where I'm going to have to get into my profit piles to find stuff to list.
Maybe that's a good thing.
No. I'm at the point.
Empty the shelves.
Well, that is the plan, but I think I just need to give up on that stuff. Because I went looking the other day, and I look in like 6 totes of doll clothes that are just not Build-A-Bear, not American Girl, not, name brand. And, I already listed a ton of unbranded doll clothes, and I've sold 1 or 2 of the lots. I just don't know if I want to spend that much time sorting through all of that stuff. So I think I'm literally going to take a box down. If there's nothing in there calling me, I'm going to dump it and have the person that comes and gets our stuff for free just come get it. And that way I've cleared off those shelves and I'm really starting fresh. Really.
It's nice having someone that we know will come get it, because if we were just going to like donate it or take it to the dump, it's kind of like, well, I hate to see it go. I hate to, miss out on them. But we know this person's going to make good use of it, and they're going to make their money in, selling it how they make it. And then whatever they don't want, they donate it, and it's going to get through the process, but somebody else is going to get benefit from it. So it's good. I feel much better doing it that way than just tossing it or redonating it.
Yeah, I've had this stuff for years. Most of it. I've been much better probably the last 2 years of processing most of everything that I get, or I immediately put it in the donate bag. I don't set it aside and do nothing with it. So it's just that old stuff that accumulated over the years that, I need to get rid of it. I just need to wipe the slate clean and start with fresh stuff. Because I am sourcing different. Even since we started this channel, I source a lot different. I'm learning too things that I probably shouldn't pick up just because it takes too long to sell. We are much better with sell-through rate, especially on clothes, than what we were, when we first started this channel. So
with the clothes, we have some stuff from, like when we first started, we got some bulk bags of, like filler bags and things like that. We bought stuff that we wouldn't have bought. Right. Now it's just the same as you learn, you buy differently, you buy better things, you buy faster selling things. And I just, Rebel says we need to get to that, and I'm like, I'm getting through all this new stuff first, because it's better. I can pick up 5 jeans and list 5 jeans as opposed to picking 5 jeans out of the original stuff and listing 2 or maybe 3 of them, because the other ones have to be put in the bag to be given away. It's much more efficient to go through the new stuff.
Yes. And we're working on that.
And that's why profit piles build up, because it's stuff that, I probably shouldn't have bought that, but I don't want to get rid of it. And that stuff just collects over time. We mentioned that we have a second store that we're doing clothes out of. It's primarily jeans right now. I think you put a purse or something in there, I saw.
Yeah, and I think a couple pairs of shoes.
That kind of stuff. Clothes and accessories are going to go in there. And somebody said, why would you do that? Why? And so we've yammered on enough right here. So let's go through your what sold part of it, and then we'll talk about the why. There are reasons why you might want to do that.
We have legit reasons, so we'll get to that in just a minute. This video is the what sold video for last week, Monday through Thursday, which was June 30th through July 3rd. Sales 2 up, 2 down days. So, but I was having more, equal-ish numbers of good days to bad days until recently. And now I'm just, y'all, I barely made $100 yesterday. Barely. And with a store of 11,000 items, and believe me, that is not typical for me. I know it's the long weekend and holidays, but dang, that hurts. It hurts. But let me go ahead and show you some of the things that sold on eBay and Etsy. I actually only had one thing on Etsy, but I had some pretty decent sales, which helped the 2 up days that I'm going to share with you. One that's just kind of hilarious. I would have never, ever thought that it was going to sell for that much. First thing is this Bluebird Polly Pocket Summer House. No figures. This is one of the houses that I picked up at the Goodwill bins in Nashville when we went up there for the reseller meetup. Bought like a dozen of them with people that went with some of them. I had a few loosey-goosey people that I listed separately. It ended up being a really nice find. But this particular one sold for $17.95. And then eBay. A lot of bread and butter. I'm moving a whole lot of the old stuff. And, I am so glad that I finally got on board of just getting rid of this old stuff. And it's funny, though, because I know, like, for this item, I would have sent out a 40% offer. I don't think, is that 40? I don't think that's 40% off.
40% of 17 would be, be 60%. So 6 and 42 would be 1020 would be your 40%.
Yeah, the fact that I'm getting more than the offers that I would have sent out on it just, makes me very happy. And I'm seeing a lot of that. And I just think it's more staying active in eBay, sending out those offers, accepting offers, doing your counter offers, all of that. And then, of course, listing, running sales. Those all the things that we know to do to just kind of keep, hopefully, the algorithm happy. But this was a Build-A-Bear blue dog. I've had it listed forever, before 2023, and it sold for $11. Fisher-Price Rescue Heroes. I'm not probably going to be picking up Rescue Heroes anymore. They were those larger, like, figures, really chunky. This was ladders that went to a fire truck, so sold as replacement. They just don't sell very well, and they're really, really heavy as far as the figures, and the vehicles and all the other equipment are just really large. But finally sold the 2 ladders for $10. All right, Gundad Tails Brown Bear, listed back in 2023, accepted a $19 order. I also have a code up there that says that I picked this up the first time we went to Connecticut. So that's, that's been a while, but you guys were along, if you've been watching my videos from the beginning, we went up there for a Tongsudo belt test that Robert and RJ took. I think it was their first black belt, and then we went again.
You didn't go the first time.
I didn't go the first.
You didn't love us enough then.
Oh, so this was the second time back in 23. Has it already been that long?
It's been 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't go the first time. But I also had young kids still at home, and I ain't trusting teenage boys alone for extended amounts of time back then. They were rotten. All right, but this Gundad Bear sold for $19, if I didn't say that. Stir Kitchen Center glass bowl replacement. This was a small bowl, had the little pouring spout. Sold for $13.45. Learning Curve Dollhouse. That was, I think, from Toys R Us. This was just a mom and a dad. Sold for $11. Love the smalls. All right, this was, Pottery Barn Kids. I say I'm not going to pick them up very often, but I still do. Anytime I find them, I usually pick them up, but dang, they take forever to sell. This was a little frog rattle plush, and it sold for $11.66. All right, this is a viewer sale, so thank you so much, Lisa. Lisa was, I think, getting ready for her birthday, potentially, and bought a whole bunch of my Lion King items. Bought 3 lots. We've got Nala and Simba in the first lot, a bunch of cake toppers and figures, and then Timon and Pumbaa in the second lot. And the total was $68 for the 3, so thank you again, Lisa. Vanity Fair women's gown. This was listed back in 2024. Just probably should have used like, lingerie, stuff like that, but I didn't back then. It was a size large, sold for $12. Next, we have Wrangler Relaxed Fit men's jeans. I'm not going to be taking like the clothes that we currently have in this store and moving them to the other. That's just extra work. But, as we process new stuff, we're just putting that on the new store. Right now I'm doing like 5 a day. But these black jeans sold for $15.94. All right, American Eagle women's frayed shorts sold for $14. Heartline, which I think is by Hallmark, but this was from 1985, a cute little white bear, sold for $11.66. Another purse plush. After I said no more, I've sold 5 now in like the last week. This was a dog with a little ballerina tutu, sold for $14.36. Speaking of clothes that were listed at the beginning, not something we would continue to pick up, but these are Faded Glory, just bootcut jeans, sold for $9. Baby Gund Green Frog Rattle Plush, listed at the middle of last year. It's from 1991. Pretty sure I had it on Etsy also. Went back and forth a little bit on offers, and these sold. I finally took an offer of $35. I just ended this listing and added the smaller purple plush. I think he was in one of my bag lots from the bins. And y'all, it sold right after. I'm really liking the fact that I'm putting these lots together, bumping up the price, and things are selling pretty quickly. This was from the movie Home. I never watched it, so I have no idea. But they were by Toy Factory. Again, not a brand I like. But they make lots of character plush, and it sold for $17.95. Think Geek. This was the green Android plush. I sold the yellow one. I think it was a little bit bigger. I think it was like $30, but the smaller one, the green one, I guess wasn't as popular. But it's funny, I sold both of them within probably a week or two. And it sold for $13.45. Chuck E. Cheese. This was a happy birthday plush, 11-inch, and it sold very, very quickly, $17.95. Big sale of the 4 days, but y'all, I paid $1 for these each at some kind of yard sale. I want to say it was bonus that we stopped at, and like everything was $1, and it was just boxes and boxes, and you had to dig. I love those types of sales. But I normally wouldn't have picked them up, but I Google Lensed one of them and realized there was like one had sold for like $50 or $60, and so there was 2 of them. I listed them a little bit high in May, and I took an offer of $100 for the 2 of orange Rubbermaid sink mats. That vintage odd colors, the greens and the almonds that we all remember in our grandparents' house. That's coming back. It's trending back. So if you see this older stuff in those those colors, just definitely check comps. But $100 from $2.
2 stores. Why 2 stores?
Oh, why 2 stores?
Not Y2K?
Not Y2K. You know, I've been doing eBay for what, 26 years, and long before Robert and I ever met, and everything has been in my name. Everything. So, you know, the eBay, the Etsy, Poshmark when I was doing it, all of them, plus YouTube. I wish we hadn't put YouTube in my name because, you know, I'm the face, but Robert does most of the work for the YouTube channel. So,
Your face is prettier, though.
you know, it just, I'm not young, y'all. I'm not young. I'm going to be 62 in January. If something was to happen to me, Robert would be left with nothing. You know, he would lose access, you know, to my eBay account and, you know, the money and everything.
You cannot sell or transfer an eBay account from when I've looked before. It's tied to an individual. I think you could possibly maybe have put it in an LLC name or something like that, a business name. But I don't know. I mean, I know you can with Amazon. You can do that with Amazon, but I just don't know. Everything I've looked, you cannot transfer an eBay account from one person to another, and I would have nothing.
Right, and I've seen posts where, you know, that's happened to couples where, you know, the wife was using the husband's account and he passes away, and you know how everything is, you know, your Social Security gets marked as deceased, and then all of a sudden things start getting shut down, bank accounts and everything associated to that Social Security number. So we decided, you know, Robert had an old account, an old eBay account. So, I mean, we're not starting from scratch, but it only had like three feedback. So we do have some limits, and we thought, you know, this is a way for us to go ahead and start building up, you know, an account, you know, a good account in his name, so that if something was to happen to me, he could go through List Perfectly, which is just another amazing way of, you know, letting him have access to all the work that we've done over the years. Because, you know, we both work pretty equally on our businesses. You know, he does his thing, I do my thing. So, you know, he can go through List Perfectly if he needed to and start moving stuff over into his account.
Because eBay could come in and say, all right, we've terminated your eBay account. All those listings go away. But because they're still in the List Perfectly catalog, I could then start cross-listing to my eBay account.
Yes. And so that's why we just decided now, you know, not to be, you know, morbid or anything, but my mom passed away very suddenly at the age of 65. You know, sudden heart attack.
So
And
I could be rid of you that soon?
So, you know, that I'm almost 62. And so that was the whole point of doing this, you know, to, you know, at this point, everything is in my name. And yes, we split everything up tax wise, so that, you know, he's getting credit for part of the business. But, you know, if something happened to me, he would, you know, have nothing if he didn't have this store going. He'd have to start from scratch with limits and all of that stuff. So at this point, we're just trying to get past, you know, the 250 listing limits and, you know, build up the feedback and then, you know, get top rated seller and, you know, start everything from basically scratch. That is the reason for the second store. So for those that asked.
Don't be dying on me.
Don't plan on it.
I get to go first.
I just picked this up at that high school sale that we went to. There was a bunch of Avon Plush in this massive pile of toys that I dug through. And this sold almost instantly after I looked. I listed it on July 1st. Pretty sure it sold on July 1st. It was an Avon terry cloth Percival the Penguin plush, and it sold for $19.95. I think all the plush that day was $1 each. Picked this up at the Habitat store. It actually goes with like a Cookie Monster, and it was an alphabet soup game. It ended up missing the letter X. It still sells very well, even with missing letters. But this group of the like molds letters sold for $40. I may have already sold the Cookie Monster. I'm thinking I did. This is a Build-A-Bear Oakland A's plush. Again, another one of my really old listings, and it sold for $10. Pillow Fort ballerina dress plush. I think a lot of times these pillow forts come with like a blanket. I still end up selling a lot of these. This one sold for $11.66. Gap women's corduroy shorts sold for $15. Sesame Street Elmo and Abby Cadabby Seesaw. This was actually by Bakery Crafts, so it is an actual cake topper. Sold for $8.96.
You know it's got to be hot in here when you got that thing set on 79 and it's kicking on.
And the air is kicking on, yep. All right. This is from RGU Group. There's a whole lot of plush. Sometimes they say Suvies on them, but they're like souvenir plush. This one was the Buckaroo Bandits. Sold for $8.96. I tend not to pick up stuff like this anymore. I will pick up like the sports mascot type plush, but this would have been something, it took 2 years to sell, so no.
We don't normally keep that on 79 out here.
No, but when we're out here working, we lower the thermostat on the mini split, which is right here. I freeze to death just a couple of degrees down. It's just kind of weird.
Wear a robe.
I know, I do. And I have sweatpants on, so. All right, G.I. Joe Red Dog Pilot figure. This is one of the 12-inch figures. I'm thinking this was like a Ben's pickup in Nashville. Sold for $16.15. Christmas ornaments. This was probably like Target or something, but I couldn't attribute it to it. But it was a cute little fuzzy elephant Christmas ornament, and it sold for $8. Something unique. You know, you don't normally see elephant Christmas ornaments. Fisher-Price Little People. These were the vintage farm animals. I have the word hex in there because on some of their bellies, there is a hex nut, like a little silver circle. Some collectors look for that. I'm not sure if I can show it in the picture. Yeah. It sold for $17.96. I'm going to take off that red lettering so I can show you what I'm talking about. Right here. You see that little silver circle there? Those are hex nuts. Just something to put in your keywords. Not all of them have it. Chico's Platinum Women's Jeans sold for $15.01. Bunnies by the Bay, cute little cat Lovey security blanket sold for $20.96. Dragon's Lair 2, Time Warp was the name of it. It was one of those CDI computer games. I am not a gamer, so I have no clue about any of this. I got it straight off of the case, and it sold for $42. Again, this was listed in 2023, so me would have been sending out 30% offers. So I'm thrilled that it sold for much more than an offer would have been sent out on it. And that's why I'm encouraging people, figure out your old stuff and go ahead and try to get it moving. Sending out big offers, it's not always going to sell at the offer price, but I think it does give some momentum to some of these older listings when you are sending out offers on them.
Dragon's Lair was a game, I'm going to call it 1990, that when I worked at the
1994.
Well, the original one is the one I remember, and it's when I worked at the Philly cheesesteak shop in the mall when I was in college, and you go by the computer, Walden Books or something like that. I think it might have been it, or what?
Something, yeah.
I think they had a game store that was like their cousin or brother or something, and I would walk by and they would have that playing, and the graphics were so good compared to everything else that was out then. But it wasn't your normal computer game. It was a little different, but the graphics, I just remember walking by and just being amazed at the graphics and how nice they were. And it's probably very cheesy compared to what we have today.
All right. Bontrager cycling tights for men. You know, these have been listed since April, but I am pretty sure I remember picking these up the last time we were in Connecticut at the Benz. They just was in a bag that I ended up finding and processing. This sold for $53.71. Definitely keep your eyes open for like cycling pants, wrestling gear, that types of stuff. Barbie doll Beauty and the Beast mask. I think this was in a lot of Barbie stuff that I picked up. Didn't have the rest of it, you know, the costume that Ken would put on and be the Beast. The mask itself, though, still sold for $8.06. Dakin Brown Bear Plush from 1981. Been listed since January of 2023. Finally sold $16.16. Not even an offer. Cloud Island Lamb Sheep Lovey. I just showed this in a haul, so this was a very quick sale. Sold for $15. Vintage 7UP Plush. Now, I think I had the larger one listed, took that listing down, had found this 7UP Christmas ornament in the bins or whatever bags, and made a lot. It says back in April, I put this in as a 2-piece lot, and it sold for more than I had originally had it listed for, of course, for $15. Hansa. I do not find that brand very often. It is high quality, excellent thing. I don't find it very often. This was a Jackalope Rabbit plush, and it sold for $27.95. A&A Sheepdog plush, large, 28 inches, pretty much. A lot of times my measurement is how tall it is. Some people like to do how long it is. No matter which way you're measuring it, make sure you have it in a picture. It sold, again, another 2023 listing, sold for $48.96. Aloha Hawaii handkerchief lot. This would have been like souvenir. I picked up a large lot of handkerchiefs at a yard sale / estate sale a couple of years ago, and finally sold these two for $15.36. I think I still have a few lots left. It is very, very slow moving stuff. And last but not least, a Meoni by Aurora spotted pig plush, sold for $8.96. All right, hope you guys enjoyed this. Fingers crossed our truck gets fixed early this week and we can still go ahead and head out to Missouri so I can get some sourcing done. I can get some bins bags to share with you guys and actually have stuff to continue listing.
It'd be a shame if all we had to do was just lay around, do nothing but pack stuff and ship it.
Yeah, you're not feeding the algorithm if you're not listing. Now, I did have quite a bit of drafts made, but, you know, eventually even that's going to run out. So I got to get some work done. Get to work. Bye.